Did you know your emotions might literally change the colors you see? This isn't just a poetic metaphor about seeing the world through rose-colored glasses when you're happy or feeling blue when you're sad. Research suggests that your emotional state can physically alter how your visual system processes color information, creating measurable differences in what colors you actually perceive. Think about those days when you're feeling down. The world might actually appear more gray and less vibrant. Not just metaphorically, but in a real, perceptual sense. I remember one particularly difficult week when nothing in my usually colorful garden seemed to pop. The reds looked dull, the yellows muted. It wasn't until my mood lifted that the vibrancy returned. Scientists have found evidence supporting this experience. People experiencing depression often report seeing the world in more muted tones, reflecting actual changes in visual processing. Studies show that people with depression experience what researchers call reduced contrast sensitivity. They have more difficulty distinguishing between similar shades and perceiving boundaries between different colors. The world appears less vibrant and less clearly defined. As one researcher described, it's as if the brain's visual system is turning down the contrast knob, making everything appear more flat and uniform. This effect is particularly pronounced along the blue-yellow axis of color perception. People experiencing depression or anxiety show measurable differences in their ability to discriminate between blues and yellows compared to people without these conditions. The connection is so strong that some researchers have proposed using color perception tests as potential diagnostic tools for mood disorders. The explanation lies in the relationship between our brain's emotional and visual processing systems. These systems interact through shared neural pathways and chemical messengers. The neurotransmitters regulating our mood also influence visual processing. Serotonin, our natural happiness booster, helps regulate how visual information moves through different parts of the brain. When you're feeling joyful, this chemical doesn't just elevate your mood, it actually enhances how vividly you perceive colors. Similarly, dopamine, our pleasure chemical, influences the retina's ability to detect contrast and process color information. When you're anxious, your brain releases stress hormones that prepare for potential danger. These hormones sharpen certain aspects of vision like motion detection and peripheral awareness, but reduce color sensitivity. This makes evolutionary sense. Quickly spotting movement is more important than appreciating rich colors when facing danger. Conversely, positive emotions enhance color perception. People in positive mood states perform better on color discrimination tests and show greater sensitivity to color contrasts. When you're feeling good, the world appears more colorful in your actual perceptual experience. This relationship works in both directions. Colors also trigger emotional responses that influence perception. These associations form in early childhood and are shaped by personal experiences and cultural factors. Different cultures assign various meanings to colors, evoking specific emotional responses. In Western cultures, red often signifies danger or passion, while in Chinese culture it represents good luck. These emotional associations create neural connections that influence how we perceive and respond to colors. When you see a color strongly associated with a particular emotion, your brain activates neural networks linked to that emotion, which then feed back into your visual processing. This creates a loop where your emotional response to a color can change how you perceive that color and others around it. Marketing professionals understand this connection and strategically use color to influence emotions and behaviors. Fast food restaurants use red and yellow because they stimulate appetite and create urgency. Luxury brands use deep purples and blacks to evoke sophistication. Hospital walls often feature soft blues and greens because these colors reduce anxiety and promote calm. In one revealing study, researchers induced different emotional states in participants and tested their color perception. People feeling sad were more likely to perceive neutral colors as bluish, while those feeling happy perceived a warm bias. Researchers measured these perceptual differences using standard color matching tests. The implications extend beyond understanding how our minds work. They help explain why light therapy effectively treats certain types of depression, particularly seasonal affective disorder. Exposure to particular light wavelengths might change how our brains process visual information, influencing mood through shared neural pathways. Can your mood actually change how you see colors? Research strongly suggests yes. Your emotions influence the neural pathways and chemical messengers involved in color processing, creating measurable differences in visual perception. This connection between emotion and perception reveals something profound about our brains. There's no clear dividing line between emotional states and sensory experiences. They're deeply interconnected, with each influencing the other through complex neural networks. If something as seemingly basic and objective as color can be influenced by emotions, expectations, and cultural background, what does this tell us about our experience of reality more broadly? How much of what we perceive as obvious truth about the world is actually constructed by our minds? These questions lead us to remarkable insights about the nature of consciousness itself. Reality check: what color tells us about consciousness. If color exists only in our minds, what does that tell us about everything else we experience? Throughout this journey, we've seen how color isn't a property of objects themselves, but a creation of our brains. This reveals something profound about consciousness and reality that goes far beyond just color perception. Think about what this means. The rich, vibrant world of color that feels so real and objective to you is actually a construction of your mind. When you look at a blue sky or a red apple, you're experiencing your brain's interpretation of wavelengths of light. The blueness of blue and the redness of red exist only in minds like yours. This realization opens up a much bigger question. If something as fundamental as color is created by our brains rather than existing in the external world, what other aspects of our experience might be similarly constructed? The smooth textures we feel, the sweet taste we enjoy, the melodic sounds we hear, are these direct perceptions of reality, or are they also constructions of our minds based on physical stimuli? Like an artist who transforms a landscape into a painting, your brain transforms raw sensory data into a meaningful experience of reality. The canvas may contain the same pigments for every artist, but each creates a unique interpretation, just as our brains create our unique perceptual worlds. Philosophers call these subjective experiences qualia, the felt quality of our experiences, what it's like to see red or taste chocolate. Neuroscientist David Chalmers frames this as the hard problem of consciousness. How do physical brain processes create subjective experiences? We can map which parts of the brain activate when you see colors and understand how photoreceptors respond to light, but this doesn't explain why these processes create the subjective experience of color rather than no experience at all. Neuroscience has identified neural correlates of consciousness, brain activity patterns associated with specific conscious experiences. A study in Current Biology demonstrated scientists can effectively read minds by decoding brain activity associated with seeing different colors. This research reveals how our conscious experiences arise from measurable physical processes, even though we still don't understand the fundamental mechanism of this transformation. Color perception vividly illustrates how the same physical input creates different conscious experiences in different people. When two people look at the famous dress and see completely different colors, despite receiving identical wavelength information, it demonstrates consciousness isn't simply processing physical information. It involves active construction and interpretation. Virtual and augmented reality technologies further demonstrate how easily our brains construct different realities. By manipulating the light entering your eyes, VR headsets make you feel present in non-physical worlds. Your brain builds a compelling sense of reality from artificial inputs, reinforcing that what we experience as reality is actively constructed rather than passively received. As perception researcher Richard Gregory explains in Seeing, through illusions, we are constantly deceived because we rely on clues like shading and color strength for depth, and on a series of assumptions of how our world functions. Our perception is an active process of interpretation based on assumptions and prior experiences. This understanding of perception as construction raises profound questions about reality itself. If our perceptual experiences are brain constructions rather than direct access to physical reality, what is physical reality actually like? Is there a true reality beyond our perceptions, or is reality inherently perspective-dependent? Some philosophers argue there's a mind-dependent reality we can never know directly. We only know our brain's model of reality. Others propose more radical views, suggesting consciousness itself is fundamental to reality rather than emerging from physical processes. What does this mean about the nature of reality? Our experience isn't a direct window onto the world, but a construction of our brains. The world as it appears to you, full of colors, sounds, smells, and textures, is your brain's model of reality, not reality itself. This doesn't mean the external world doesn't exist. It means your experience of that world is mediated by your perceptual systems and shaped by your brain's interpretive processes. This isn't cause for alarm. Our brain's model of reality has proven remarkably useful for navigating the world. Evolution has shaped our perceptual systems to create models that allow us to interact with our environment successfully. Your perception of a red apple might not capture the apple's intrinsic nature, but it does allow you to find and eat the apple. Understanding perception's constructed nature brings us to a new appreciation for the incredible power of our minds. Your brain isn't simply recording the world, it's actively creating your experience of reality. The rich, colorful world you inhabit exists because your brain transforms patterns of light, sound waves, and other physical stimuli into a coherent, meaningful experience. The colors you see aren't physical properties of objects but creations of your mind. That red apple isn't inherently red. Your brain constructs that experience from wavelengths of light. This simple truth reveals something profound. Your conscious experience is a personal interpretation of reality, not reality itself. Next time you watch a sunset or admire a painting, consider the remarkable neural processes allowing you to experience colors in your unique way. Your perception differs subtly from everyone else's. The dress debate that divided the internet in 2015 offered a powerful glimpse into this truth. We each live in our own perceptual worlds. What reality will you discover today?